This is one that we've used in class very successfully with sort of upwards about 12-year-olds. This is a website I would recommend very much to use by Comma Press, and it is in fact just Comma Press, one word, .co.uk. It's great stuff. It's an independent publisher in the UK, which in itself is good news. They specialise in short stories and poetry, contemporary stuff, here and now, and a lot of it's available free online, and you can download it sometimes as text, sometimes as audio, and usually as both. But what they've also got is another little section on film, where they've taken some of the more popular poems, and what they've asked young film designers and producers to make very short movies to go with it. And this is a film called Waiting. It's from a poem by Julian Daniels. It's from the Comma Press set. It's very simple, and it's great if you've just been introducing or working with or revising present continuous. It works extremely well with that. There's a danger to it though, as you will see. We tried this with a group. First time we ever tried it with a group of 12-year-olds, and it worked really well. And the bad news was that 6 months later, whenever there was a slight pause in activities in the classroom, or teacher changed activities, I think it had been arranged, a little chorus of waiting, waiting, waiting came up, which is exactly from here. So there are dangers hidden in this, but my goodness, that showed that it stuck. They remembered that all the way through the year. So what I've done here is I've just taken a number of stills from the film, and you'd simply ask, they know the title's Waiting, and you simply go through, there they are, close up. We're waiting for surplus. We're waiting for speculative. The bills. Yeah. Friends. Yeah. Yes. There's always
you call yourself a senior teacher.
Very astute comment. Yeah, so speculations. But that's good. Anyway, I mean, the more answers you actually get for anyone, then there's more of a need to say, which is the one, who's right. There's more of a desire to go and see what the final result is. That's more difficult. I mean, I would go into the sort of defining as to where we are. Yes, okay, so we're in a hallway, and he's got in his hand court summons. A court summons. And you can read the postmark.
Yeah, the baseball cap one, isn't it? Don't give away.
Okay, so he's got a letter, which, and then of course we will then speculate on what it is. It's the court summons. Anyone got any other ideas about a note from the court?
A love letter.
A love letter. Oh, I
massive. Job application.
Job application.
Yes. From an administrator.
Exam results. Yeah.
Driving test results.
So the obvious one there.
Green.
They're not going to get that one.
Never going to get there. No.
Not here.
Waiting, red light.
Well, I suppose so. Actually, I don't know. I was being driven back from the airport yesterday, and so I was quite impressed by this guy in the taxi sitting there at a red light, and there was no traffic coming.
It's because it was a Mercado.
Yeah. Perhaps he was a foreigner. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I think.
Waiting for the computers in my
Yeah. It'd be better if that annoying little circle this goes around and around. I like this one. What would that be? Waiting to sleep?
To look more attractive.
Waiting to look more attractive. Interesting. Maybe that era
Been there for a while.
Lovely idea. And then of course we've got a blank, which will be for
God.
God. Oh, I haven't given me that one before. Well, the fact there's no picture in it means it's back to you. Back to you, folks. What are you waiting for?
You to show the picture.
First bit of space. Waiting to show the picture. Love it. Yeah. Okay. So the only thing that's left to be done now is to actually go and actually see this at work. There's the waiting. I think I have to do this twice on this one.
Waiting, waiting, waiting. Always waiting. Waiting for a bus, waiting for friends, waiting for my big break. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Waiting for the lights to change. Waiting for the computer to load. Waiting for the girlfriend's headache to clear. Again. Waiting, waiting, waiting. And now you're waiting. Waiting for this poem to read. Waiting, waiting, waiting.
It works well enough. The only one that I found, it's going to be a trick, is waiting for our big break. I mean, obviously that's going to need another bit of context for it, but you can see why you've got your group of 12-year-olds and then you're going to go waiting, whenever there's a pause, for the next 6 months. Use it with caution, folks. Yeah, I think it also gets over that sort of bit, I remember once when it's the whole idea about poetry in the classroom. We were very cruel, actually very often very cruel. We had a group of about 14, I suppose, kids. They were British Council kids from a whole rugby class. We took classes at one time. And we had about 50 of them together, and we told them that they're going to hear poetry. We got them all together in a room. You can imagine what we hadn't told them what it was. What we hadn't told them it was actually Rastafarian sort of dub poetry. We hadn't told them this bit, so I think they assumed, as we hoped, that it was going to be some sort of old white guy coming in and reading something from the 18th century. So when this guy came in with dreadlocks and sort of rather bouncing in and he was supposed to do 45 minutes of poetry. Hour and a half later, we were able to drag the kids out. You have to go on now. It's quite extraordinary. But it's getting across this idea that poetry isn't what you necessarily think it is. That it actually has something that can connect to what's happening here now, and it's alive and it's fun. It can be. It's that selective bit. Okay. This was just an activity we did afterwards, which was a very simple thing of working in pairs, to working out what over the last period of time, it might have been 24 hours, might be last week, things that you had waited for. And the place where you waited, to try and make sure there was an association between the kind of waiting activity you're doing and the kind of place that this might actually happen in. And of course you can transpose that. It doesn't have to be into the person themselves, but somebody else. It could be somebody they know of, or an imaginary character. But again, that personalising the whole sort of experience seems to work quite well. Changing that, let's move on to a quick bit of narrative. And once upon a time worked wonders, because everyone knows a bit about it. Because say, once upon a time there was a king. So, what do you think might be associated with that? We've got a king. It's a princess. It's a princess. There's usually a princess.
Castle.
And a castle.
Evil witch. 3 sons.
3 sons. Getting quite, it's a big enough castle, isn't it?
Poisoned apple.
Poisoned apple. What for the king? Yeah, it could be.
A white horse.
some
Unicorn.
Unicorn. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Let's take the interesting. The first word, the first one that came out there, first idea, association of ideas that was out of all that was princess. And once upon a time, there was a king, and his daughter, the princess, was
In love.
in love,
Locked away.
locked away. Could be both. It could be in love and locked away. It could be locked away because she's in love.
For that love.
Yes, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it can sort of move on. What's the resolution in these sort of stories? Yeah, but something has to happen for that resolution to happen. Okay, so we've trotted out the first bit. We've started to populate this story that starts once upon a time with at least 2 characters here, and a hinted third, because love is usually involves another person, unless it's a severe form of narcissism. It could be. I guess suspect if we left it into this room, that's exactly where it would go.
That's spaceship.
That left a castle behind. Okay. But you can see the scenario. We could very easily construct a whole number of stories that fit into this scenario that start once upon a time, and they lived happily ever after, that has a kind of resolution. Because usually we have a baddie. Somebody mentioned a wicked witch somewhere, and there was a poisoned apple, you know, often says it. So we've got the baddie, we've got your polar opposites going on here, and there's going to be some sort of crescendo and there's going to be a resolution, and then the apotheosis at the end, and we're all happy at the end. It's one of these little things, that sort of strange little things that you discovered there are in fact only 7 stories in the whole world, and oh, it's got princes as well. But that's something actually, you know, when you're working in this field, remembering that there are in fact only 7 basic narratives that are totally constructed, means that we all have this shared story basis that we can easily build things on. You know, we sort of know or can guess what the possibility is about a story, and we need to use that from our students because they're going to feed us with the story. They supply the story first. And I think that's part of the sort of contract here. Now, what we're looking for here is the students who are going to supply the story that's their story before we supply them with another story. And they're not going to get this one, so they've given us one. And it's that comparison is, I think, the most important dynamic that's going on here. This particular story, and you can build it as you want. Okay, once upon a time was a king. Yeah, the daughter of the princess was very beautiful. So yes, yeah, and that was fairly predictable, wasn't it? And I'm so glad that you did come up with the princess, because you know, a hard one resolving that slide otherwise. I thought you guys were going to catch me off guard. You're a tricky lot. Okay, but the very beautiful princess. There's no mention of being love. What do you think the possible development of this one might be?
Well, I'm not explaining.
No. I think
Many suitors.
Many suitors. Yes. Okay, and there are many suitors, but what do they do?
They all have to guess a riddle and they get put to death if they don't answer it.
That's
Well, children.
Maybe.
How come?
The princess is dead.
Oh.
I mean, I don't want to spoil the
Like the sixth
Oh, no.
edition.
It all was very beautiful.
You don't want to go and get a cup of coffee, do you? No, it could be. It was that spaceship when it landed heavily and killed it. Yeah. We go back to the riddles. Yeah, riddles and death. It could be. So performing a task, and the end part of that task is probably going to be death. Isn't it? So that's so we can explore that in various ways in which that might happen. You know, we're sort of having, but because there's always going to be one, isn't there? There's going to be one champion who's going to find their way through, and sometimes it's the most unlikely one. But you know, that might happen. But it wouldn't be your story. You know, it's not my story.